As I remember some of my hunting trips, the bad ones are only a few, but this one seems to take the cake as I relate it to you. Today's temperature was 50 degrees as I went to bed, but when I got up the next morning, it was 11 degrees instead. When I went to get in my truck, the door locks were frozen up. As I worked to melt the ice, I knew I needed some luck. Still, with plenty of time, I was off to my hunting grounds, but when I got to my gate, another frozen lock I found. No matter how hard I tried, the key would not go in, so I threw up my hands, grabbed my bow and stand, and my half-mile hike began. As I entered the draw where I wanted to hunt, the wind was really howling. Then, much to my surprise, I heard two bucks a-fighting. As I stood there listening, it was then when I realized it was only the trees swaying in the wind. Oh, how the mind can lie. Finally, I found the tree where I wanted to hang my stand, but now with the wind chill, it's got to be zero when I started to climb with frozen hands. As I sat there thinking, watching the rising sun with frozen hands, nose, and toes, really I'm not having much fun. I began to question my sanity with falling limbs and trees. What if one of them falls on me? Or better yet, I sit here and freeze. In order to try and salvage the day, I would stalk hunt back to the truck. With each step with ice spewed up, to even get a glimpse of a deer would take more than luck. Oh, what I would give to be back on the couch with my honey all cuddled up. To hunt on a day like today, if you're gonna be stupid, you better be tough. Again this evening I failed, but I tried. I'm sorry, y'all, but it's cold outside. December 23rd, 2022, a day I will never forget, even if I wanted to. So as I enter my 60s, it's not as easy as it used to be. So before you start to criticize, please have a little sympathy. This poem is written by John Terry, my uncle, as related by me. I think he did a fine job, don't you? Well, I killed me a pig coming in here. Walked right up on them. They were sound asleep. And anyway, I'm in my stand right now. Wind's good. We'll see what happens. Maybe I'll get a deer. It wasn't about 30 minutes, maybe 40. I had a couple of does come easing through. They didn't ever give me a shot, but that was a good sign that, things can still go right. Never give up. And this is what I'm talking about. Probably an hour later, had this half-rack buck come through. Little interesting story about this half-rack buck. I'd actually found his shed rack in a scrape not too far from this location, and I thought, these deer can't be shedding their racks already. It's just December, mid-December at that. So anyway, I don't know why these bucks have lost their racks, but there's 4 bucks in this area that I've noticed that have all lost their left side. The right side are all intact, and one of them is a really nice 10-point that I would love to shoot, but I'm not going to shoot him with a half rack. I'd rather let him go another year, see if I can get him both sides. Who knows, he may blow up next time I see him, and it might all be worth it. But this is a young little deer here. I've got a lot of trail cam pics of this deer when he first was in velvet and shed his velvet and hard horn. He's only probably a 2.5-year-old deer. I think he's pretty young. There's another high rack 8-point. It's probably a 3.5-year-old deer. They look real similar, except one of them's got a lot higher rack. Been a tough year trying to get on this 10-point. It was really heartbreaking to know that he broke one side off. I didn't get no video footage of him, but I seen him with binoculars, got a pretty good look. In my stand, I have this monster come walk by me, and my son over in his stand, as soon as this little buck walked by, I heard him shoot. And this is what's going on over there. If you look in the right top corner, you can see part of the marsh where these deer come easing out of there, and they come in between these two pine thickets, this open gap. Mostly all I see when I sit here is does and small bucks, but I put him in here and this is what comes out. Pretty nice rack buck right there. He's fixed to turn the camcorder off, make the shot, and then turn the camcorder back on.
It's hard to tell. That's blood on the tree.
Well, my boy got him one. Made a good shot. He was sitting in that tree right there, right in the corner here. This was spot number one. I told him he could sit here, he could go past all this and double back and sit. He decided to watch this thick stuff right here. Said the buck come up through the wide open into this thick stuff. All that white hair. Good night. That was a hard quartering shot.
Yeah.
You almost gutted him. That was a deceiving shot. With all that hair right there.
That's why I got slid him open.
You slid him open good. That's why he bled so good.
I got the heart.
Yeah, you got the heart.
Good
Hold
stuff.
him antlers up there.
If it makes you feel any better, I debated.
You debated on shooting him or not?
And I did.
Kind of turned his head real slow, one direction then the other. Let me hear the story.
Buck walked out, and I shot him.
Come on, boy.
I'm hunting between a thicket and a marsh on my dad's property. And he came up from the marsh side, in between the two marshes, and worked his way up into the wide open. And when I first saw him, I grabbed my camcorder first because I didn't think he'd be big enough to shoot. And I was filming him, and he got right under my tree, and I'm looking at him through the camcorder and going back and forth between the camcorder and him, and he turned his head, and I saw that he had good curve, and so I said, well, I guess I will shoot him. So I put my camcorder away while he's 15 yards from the tree, get my gun set up. He's walking away from me now, and I did a hard quartering away shot at about 35 yards. So he didn't run. I guess we're about 50 yards from the tree, right? Or 50 yards from where he was standing.
That's a good looking buck.
Yeah, I'm happy. God, that happened so quick. Get this camera right here. That happened pretty quick. That arrow didn't go in very deep. I don't even know if I can. God, he was right dead under the tree before I even knew he was. He come running up. Anyway, I got an arrow in him. I hope I can make that shot count. Doggone it. I'd like to have got another arrow in him, though that arrow didn't go in very deep.
Some of y'all might be asking, why in the world do you grunt and snort at that deer after shooting him the way you did? You ain't gonna call him back. You're right, I'm not gonna call him back, but I can get him to stop, confuse him, maybe get him to die a lot quicker instead of running so far. It's worked a lot in the past. Well, I found my deer. He made it all the way down to the bottom of this holler, of course. Folks, I know y'all don't believe this, but I don't have the best luck of all. I thought this footage was a total loss, and I worked my tail off just to get it to look this good, so hope y'all appreciate it.
Matt, Matt.
One bad thing about hunting late season is that your mature bucks usually come out at last light, mainly due to all the hunting pressure.
Well, that really sucks. I got set up on the ground here. Oh, I'm shaking like a leaf. He run right up in my freaking face. God, we had a stare down. I thought I had the record button turned on, and I guess I never had it turned on. God, I'm shaking like this is so exciting. I probably wasn't 5 yards from that dude. Anyway, he don't know what I am. He circled around me and went on by me. I gotta stop shaking. It might have been another deer come by. This is ridiculous. I'm so cold. If you can imagine that deer being right on the other side of that log right there. He's about 5 steps. 7 at the tops, depending on how you step. I forgot to hit the record button. I could have killed him, I guess. I've got about 20 more minutes. I want to be in that tree 15 yards from here. That's all I care about. That buck is bedding right there on that point of that swamp. And I'm not going to booger him up. I'm hoping he'll come up this ridge right here and walk either that little swag or the swag to my right. Alright, I'm set up in my tree. I started at 1 o'clock sneaking in here. It's a little after 3 o'clock right now.
I'm 63 yards from where I know his bed is. I'm hoping it's thick enough between here and there that he didn't see me climb this tree. I'm actually in a pine tree. Talk about climbing a tree slowly. I think I got in here quite enough though. Wind's kind of blowing, the trees are creaking and popping. Maybe that helped disguise my presence. We'll find out.
Well, it's closing time. I ain't seen nor heard anything. Either he's not bedded on that point, or he knows I'm here.
There is a really nice shooter buck over there. I don't know if he'll come this way or not. I've grunted at him several times. Doggone, I hope he comes this way.
You know, it may sound crazy, but you never know unless you try. Calling deer can work, but once they get out in that bed area like that, it is really tough to get a buck deer to turn around and come back to you. They just won't hardly do it. Good morning. Y'all may recognize the spot I'm hunting. I hunt this pine thicket pretty much every opportunity I get when I get the wind right. And this is what I usually see. This is a little opening out in the middle of these pines that for some reason or another a lot of the deer like to walk through. Y'all may recognize this spot from a previous buck I filmed. This is the other buck that was hanging out in this same area. As you can see, he acts a whole lot like the other buck, taking his sweet time. tell you, some of these mature bucks, when they come through an area like this, they will just about drive you crazy with the amount of time they take, moving one step at a time, everything they do methodically thought out. I don't think they do hardly anything by chance. This particular buck here is not as old as the other buck I videoed. I'm pretty sure this buck is actually a 3.5-year-old buck. Now, y'all can look at it and tell me what you think in the comments if you like, but I know he's not as old as the other buck that hangs with him or in this same area. They don't actually hang together, but they pretty much walk the same areas. I had to spin all the way around in my tree stand 360 degrees, come in from the other side because he walked around behind me. And when he got out there just a little ways from me, he stopped, stood there for what seemed like forever. I think a big problem with a lot of deer hunters is they spot a buck, maybe they lose it in the brush, they think the deer's gone, when actually they just didn't have a lot of patience, and maybe they start moving around too much trying to find it and get busted and don't even know it. I slow motion this down a little bit so you guys get a better look at it and maybe tell me what kind of age class deer you think this is. This morning's been a really good morning. I set up on a buck I've been after, and he did just like he was supposed to do. The only problem is he come in half dressed. I don't know what you would do, but he's a real pretty buck, and I really like to see both sides of him. I'll wait till next year. Maybe he'll be doing the same pattern that he's doing this year. I know these patterns have changed. I've already picked several of my stands because of all the clear cutting that's been going on around here. It's changed the way these deer go through this travel corridor. But had a couple of does come by. Boy, they so spooky. Late season, these does, they've been chased by bucks everywhere. Everything's been chasing them, really. And I don't know what that doe didn't stand up there on that hill until she looked up every tree trying to find me, because I know she crossed my scent where I walked. And as soon as she did that, she locked up. And buddy, she looked in every tree around here. You can see her looking her head up and she looked dead at me a couple of times. I don't know if she picked me out or not, but she circled downwind of this whole area. So I'm sure she probably got my scent. I believe this deer is a mature buck. Now, I let this deer walk. I really thought about putting an arrow in this deer. I don't like the angle that he's standing on me. Taking out a front shoulder like that is really a tough shot. If the deer was a little bit closer to me, I might try that shot. But he's out there a little ways a lot can happen between the time I let the arrow go and it reaches him. Right here, I think he's just looking dead at me, but I don't really think he saw me. But it's pretty interesting. This is how a mature buck acts. They will stand in one spot for what seems like forever. They ain't got no place to go. They're already home. They ain't on no schedule. They ain't got a time clock to punch. And I've watched buck deer like this stand in one spot for a solid hour.
That squirrel's ticked off up there. Let's make it happen. There's no way I could walk in here quiet today. The ground's frozen, the snow is crunching. It's just making a terrible, terrible noise walking through all this mess.
Well, finally, with 2 hours of daylight left, I found a jam-up place to sit and got positioned for a hunt. I'm not really sure why this deer can't hear me. It's probably because of all the noise the ice is making, but you would think he'd be able to hear that. But he pretends like he don't. He's got food on his mind. He's headed straight for a food source. This time of year, food is king. Late season in Kentucky. That's what I've been told, and it seems to hold true. I've got several bucks coming up this trail. Of course, they're on the trail that I'm not on. I had to try to split the difference between 2 trails where I'm sitting, and there's actually 3 trails, and of course they take the high trail too far out of bow range. That first buck would have been a good buck for me to take with a bow. The good thing is, this is the first afternoon on my first day of hunting. So I've still got 2 more afternoons in this spot to try. They just keep coming. This is one of those spots that you always want to try to set up on, but they're so hard to find. And the only way I found this spot was putting my feet on the ground and stomping all day long, looking for the sign. Now, I tried to do it in a smart way, using the wind to my advantage and staying out of key areas and circling around and pushing into the thickets, which takes a little bit longer, but as you can see, it's well worth it when you find a spot like this and you don't booger it up trying to scout it, blow all the deer out. I was excited about this spot, to say the least. Of course, the smaller bucks come walking right up underneath the tree, giving you the perfect bow shot. Seems to always be the case. This is one of the 2 trails that I tried to split within bow range of my stand. You can see the deer pretty much got it beat all the way down to the ground. I even got does walking through this spot, so you know, what more can you ask for out of an area? I suppose technically that's 4 deer that I passed on that I probably could have got a shot on. 2 little bucks and 2 does. No way am I going to take one of these deer knowing all those rack bucks are in the area. So we're going to push on. Now this buck did give me a perfect shot. I could have took him, but he was just a little bit on the small side rack wise, and I just had a little bit higher expectations. This being the first day, I decided to pass on this joker. Take a good look at that buck, because we're going to meet again here. Day 2 of my Kentucky hunt. Obviously I've found some really good rubs and a lot of deer sign. There's scraping amongst all those rubs. Deer droppings literally everywhere. This is a stage area where these bucks are holding up before they go out to feed in a open ag field that I guess one of the farmers had put something green out there. These bucks actually spend so much time in this area. There's just multiple rubs everywhere. The majority of them are fresh. I've got old droppings and super fresh droppings. There's even a couple of beds in this place. Apparently the bucks, when they come in stage up, they'll spend so much time they'll actually lay down and bed up temporarily before they head out into the ag fields. There's one bed right there. This is an afternoon hunt. I'm slipping in here, doing a little bit extra careful, watching my steps, taking my time. I'm going to try to pick the right tree to get in. As soon as I got up in my tree, this little doe come up, and she just walked right under the, basically under the tree, probably, I don't know, 5 yards from the base of the tree. Temperatures are like in the maybe 26, 28 degrees. They said with the wind it feels like 14 degrees, so that's just something that Alabama boys ain't used to, is that cold, bitter wind blowing right through you. Cut you like a knife. One thing I didn't mention was how close I am to the bed areas. Notice I said bed areas. When I scouted this area, I found basically multiple bed areas. There's a cedar thicket right below me, just about 65 yards. And there's some deer bedding in those cedar thickets. It's like 2 little ditches out there, and then they create, I guess what you'd call little points. Each one of those points has some blowdowns, and those deer want to bed right up in those blowdowns in amongst all those cedars. Across from one little ditch is a high ridge, and those high ridges have finger ridges that point down into this little draw toward that cedar thicket. There's multiple bucks bedding on those finger ridges. All the bucks are not bedding together in a bachelor group. They are actually, 1 or 2 bucks on each little finger ridge. And once, I guess, the deer start funneling up this direction, those bucks can literally sit there and watch the other deer easing their way through that cedar thicket and those little series of ditches. And when that happens, I assume that they start getting up, stretching their legs, and coming this direction as well. These deer are actually coming to me with the wind to their back. But what I've done in this situation is I've gotten up tight to the cedar trees, and I'm up high in the tree, and my wind is kind of blowing over the tops of those cedar trees. And as hard as it's gusting, my hope is that the cedar trees will be thick enough to hold my scent up above it. And then as it's going and through the tree limbs and stuff, it just kind of disperses my scent. And so far, it's worked 2 days in a row. Yesterday, all these deer came with the wind to their back. Today, they're coming with the wind to their back. This little doe, obviously, she smelt my glove on the ground. It's one of those things I hope that maybe the buck doesn't come by there and I get busted the same way. Now, yesterday when I sat in here, I was about 5 yards from the trail that this nice buck is walking on now, because they were over on the trail that I'm watching today. That's usually what happens if you move off of one trail, that they try to move in on them on the trail that they're walking. They'll change trails on you. It just happens to be my luck. I would like to be sitting right over there, tucked up tight to those cedars on that edge, getting a shot at one of those bucks, but just not going to happen today. But my friend is back. The one that I passed up on yesterday is walking dead up under my tree again today. He has a real strong tendency to kind of follow the ladies. That's what he did yesterday, and that's what he's doing today. I've made the decision to go ahead and take this buck. I figure he's going to get downwind to me and get my glove on the ground scent and maybe booger this area up. I'm not for sure if I'll even have an opportunity to hunt tomorrow, so I've made the decision to go ahead and make the best shot possible. You can tell he's been in quite a few fights. Almost all his tines are broken off or damaged to some degree. He won't be doing no more fighting. Well, this is the end to a pretty good hunt here in Kentucky. Buddy is 87 years young. Can't get out there in the woods like he used to. He sure wants to get out there, but Buddy, when you bring a deer back to his shed, he is going to get in there and help you clean it, skin it out. Here, hold that cane, Mike, while I get busy. Now that's a happy man right there. He is doing what he loves to do. Now, Buddy was quite the deer hunter back in the day. He knows them woods like the back of his hand. I don't really need to do a whole lot of e-scouting. All I've got to do is pick this man's brain a little bit. I can find the hot spots that way. Baby, you ain't got to film the whole thing.
I'm watching Buddy beating you as far as the skinning goes.
Are you?
He's
watching him show me how
Yep,
to
he's showing you how to do it, baby.
I didn't realize that we were so entertaining to folks. This is the afternoon hunt on my last day. Mike Minton and I decided to come in here and set up on these bucks in hopes that I could film him shooting one. Guys, this is a big buck killer you're looking at right here. And I don't say that lightly. This guy's got some booners on his wall. As soon as this buck stepped out of the thicket and took about 3 steps into the opening, I grunted immediately to him because they're on the far trail, and I didn't think they were going to come our direction. Today this buck heard my grunt, and there's no need for me to make another sound I've got to make him look for me now. Meanwhile, several other bucks are starting to work their way out of the thicket and head in our direction. Folks, I apologize for the blurry footage and the shakiness on my part, but I've got multiple bucks coming out of this thicket. I'm trying to figure out which one's going to come into our shooting lanes first. I believe Mike will try to shoot the lead buck because it seems like it's a bigger buck. I don't know if he'll wait on it or shoot the second buck. They're both pretty nice bucks. So I've got to keep my eye on the deer. I've got to keep my eye on Mike and when he's going to draw and which one he's going to shoot at. And my brain is working overtime. It's still just a little bit breezy this afternoon, but the wind is perfect for us. Now I know Mike's not going to shoot this little spike, but the spike kind of starts bobbing his head looking at Mike, and I thought it was going to be over with. Lucky for us, he just scoots on out of here. Right then, out the corner of my eye, I noticed Mike was getting ready to shoot, so I figure he's going to take this buck.
Now that's how you do it.
Hey, I almost waited for the second one.
He was pretty too. I think this one's better. God, I love it.
That's awesome.
You showed me how to put them on the ground. I'll tell you that much.
Hey, we should have a trailer tracking him.
No. We'll call Rick, see if he can track it for us. I couldn't even get the shot on film because his limb was in my way. And I was trying to get the camera turned around. I knew you was fixing to shoot. He's standing right over there looking at us. That other deer.
While I'm filming this buck, Mike's on his cell phone calling her friends.
Yeah, Mark. Yeah, we're still, we're 10 feet, bro.
Hey, Mike. You believe I'm still videoing that other big buck? He don't know what happened to his buddy.
There's another one right there looking at us. He's still taking it. He can't get out. You see that little deer look up at me?
Yeah. I thought we was busted there for a second. That little deer looking at it. I was trying to get them all on video, but I couldn't get them all. So, trees right there. Airs in the ground right there. Now see, you can blood trim now. It's a hard track job. I don't know if you can do it or not.
There's a track right here.
You got a track? Can't find no blood? Speck of blood there?
Speck of blood.
Yeah.
Oh, here he opened up.
Little bit of blood there. Started blowing out.
Both sides here.
Let's see. Yeah. Blood. 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 Oh, there he is.
Hey, Don. Spin around.
Oh, there's my tree.
There's your tree. Look, over there, it's mine.
There's, how about that? That's what you call getting on them. Oh, this is crazy. I love it. Love this stuff. All right, Mike.
There we go.
Hold your antlers up there.
Not a bad last day of deer season, deer.
No, that's a dandy. A lot better than the one I shot.
He busted up a little bit. Got 2 points broke off. But he'll eat good.
That deer, he's actually a little better than I thought he was. Looking at him on the ground now.
Exit wound.
That's a bullseye heart shot if I ever saw one. So tell me the story, man. Let's hear the story on this thing. I know you put a lot of work in.
My buddy Don told me, "Do you want to come over here and hunt the ridge I've been seeing all these deer on?"
Just
I said, "I'll go get my doe stand, my corn off my corn pile. And I'll go over here and try to shoot one of your deer."
all right. It works.
And he put me in a tree. And
Don't give me all the credit now.
I made the shot.
You made the shot. Showed me how to shoot them. That's what you did. I had to back up a little bit. Can't get you and the deer.
I don't know why anybody wouldn't shoot these if you're gonna shoot them broadside.
He's starting to make a believer out of me with these crazy expandable broadheads.
They fly good. They fly where you point them, and they'll sure put them on the ground.
It's a good looking deer, Mike.
Thank you.
Got a high rack on him. He just got a lot of busted tines on him. Mike Mitten, the big buck killer. I shoot the dinks and he shoots the big ones. That's a pretty deer, Mike.
Thank you.
Pretty buck. Got some character to him. How old do you figure he is if you had to guess?
I'd say he's 3.5.
3.5. A buck like that in Alabama would definitely be maybe a 6.5. Looking at him.
Looks like a solid 3.5.
Takes an old buck to grow a set of antlers like that in Alabama for the most part. You're looking at a happy man right there, almost as happy as I am.